$10K friends, one by one. Rob Lawless, spreading fun. Spreading fun. 1 hour chats, hearts connect. Real life stories, no pretext. No pretext. Meeting the world face to face. Give it up for Rob 10K.
AI is scary, isn't it?
I have to say I hate podcast intros or stuff like that, but that was the best one I've ever seen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We collect these comments to put into little video things. It's about time Josh gets one. So thank you for giving him that, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I was not anticipating the video AI version of myself.
Yeah, it's like you set up. It's like, oh, that's passable AI music. Okay, cool. And then when I was watching it myself, I'm like, oh, he threw in video. That's amazing.
Oh man, that's good.
Yeah, we
Thank
started
you.
playing with some new tools for fun, and whatever people's feelings are in AI, I think it's important to know what AI can do, and the best way to know is to use it. Like, but the other thing is always tell people, everybody, this was AI. The song, probably all the lyrics, the video, everything was made up by a computer. None of it's real. You should be able to pick that out by rewatching it, and feel free to rewatch this video thousands of times.
Yeah, it's not me in a field, but it looked good.
So, Rob, let me give you a proper intro. Rob Lawless is an amazing person who started. We'll get to the background, but your goal is to meet 10,000 people. Actually meet, not interview, not get data on or make just a blog post, but to actually have a real human connection with people. And I loved it when I heard about that. And I had to meet you, and I had to check in with you along your way. I'm sad I didn't know you when you started back in 2015.
Yeah.
2015, you've been doing this. You're up to over 5,000 people now. I'm sure you know the exact number.
I think it's 6,827.
That's amazing. That's amazing. The amount of stick-to-itiveness you have to do this day in and day out for all these years, and through good experiences and bad, you're still here doing it. You stuck to your own word, which is the first thing I really want to get in on. Did you know you would finish this when you said you would do it?
Yes. I met the first person November 11th of 2015, and I always knew I was going to document it on Instagram, but I didn't create the Instagram account until January of 2016. So it was like 2 months later. And I just wanted to see, like, okay, am I going to do this? So I met 8 people. And when I met 8 people, I said, okay, I'm going to go all the way to the end. So I just knew that I was enjoying it. And I'm very much that way. I think that's a theme in my life. I've realized, like going to the gym, for example, if I want to go to the gym 3 days a week, I'll set that goal for myself and then I won't miss it. I've just realized I'm very disciplined in that aspect. So once I met 8 people, knew I was enjoying it, I was like, I'm going to 10,000. And from that point, I had no doubt that I was actually going to finish it.
That's amazing. I love that stick-to-itiveness. I wish I had it in a lot of ways. In some ways I do. I have a saying, have a procedure or have a problem. If I do things A, B, C, like I only have 4 places on my house that my phone can lay down on, right? Like if I lose my phone, it's in one of those places because I won't put it anywhere. And when I do break the rule, I have a problem. So the procedure or the problem. So I really get that. And I wish I had that. But one thing I did really, what I'm curious about, and I ask a lot of guests this, who were you as a kid? Were you somebody who had a lot of friends or wanted a lot of friends? Were you the nerd, the jock, the preppy? And how did that influence getting here now?
Yeah, so I'm the youngest of 3 kids in my family. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia in a town called Norristown, near Valley Forge, near King of Prussia, if you're familiar with either of those. But
a little bit.
Always loved meeting people. Like I was social in grade school. I went to Catholic K through 8 school, was social there and played sports and was involved and whatnot, and was excited to get to high school because I knew there'd be more people there to meet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And was social in high school as well. And then both my older siblings went to Penn State, and I followed suit. I went to Penn State as well. And because both of them went there, I had an idea of what I could get involved with. So my freshman year, I joined the Penn State Dance Marathon, which is a big fundraising effort for the fight against pediatric cancer at Penn State. And so August of freshman year, I had this home of friends where I joked that they were the ones who taught me how to party Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night and still wake up and go to class the next day.
Good
But
friends.
yeah, they're good friends. They taught me balance, and that was the beginning of me getting involved. And then I joined a fraternity that was restarting. I would do Habitat for Humanity trips over spring breaks. I was a tour guide for prospective students. I was a homecoming captain. And like high school too, I played soccer. I played golf for 2 years. I did National Honor Society, student council. I worked a part-time job. And if you go back to grade
The
school,
people.
yeah, I played soccer, speech club, student rep. So always into those things. A lot of people ask, and they're like, "Okay, did you not have friends?" And this was a way to kind of
Doesn't sound like it.
overcome that. Yeah, no, I was a people person, and I realized that that was a strength of mine. And I think I was like the nice guy in high school, and so I just wanted to dive into that. Like I had a lot of patience when it came to meeting people, and a lot of grace for hearing people's stories. And I knew that I enjoyed getting to know other people, especially during college. So when I went from that environment into the working world, I studied finance. So I did consulting for Deloitte and got into an environment where authentic connection was no longer really a thing. I struggled with that.
I worked for a big finance company. It was the
Yeah.
opposite of socializing.
Yeah. You are kind of,
People chess.
there is a hierarchy for sure. And I thought consulting, like, oh, there'll be a lot of interaction with the clients and whatnot. And instead, I was just staring into a PowerPoint and Excel sheet for 12 hours a day. So that was difficult for me. And that was a big reason
Yeah.
why I wanted to start the project. But yeah, and I always, like, I would say I had a big imagination as a kid. I grew up across the street from woods. So my brother, I think they were like 6th grade or 7th grade. And I was probably 4th, 5th, whatever. Whenever Lord of the Rings was the thing, my brother and his friends got branches and these big strong rubber bands.
RP, yeah.
Yeah, and they
Sort
got
of. It counts. Yeah.
pretty much, and they got bows from Walmart and broke the tips off and put cotton balls there, and they would play Lord of the Rings in the woods. So like, I loved
That's
that, and I
awesome.
think as I got older, I felt that childhood imagination slipping away, and I didn't want that to happen. And it was just something for me. I feel like I really, to continue to enjoy my life, I had to continue to have that part of me. And I think that's part of what I was seeking through this journey.
I have to say, like, other than we're very different people. I'm the youngest of 5, and I'm chaos incarnate. Like that was the teenage, the heavy metal, the kid. But I'm always the person that I did the playing in the woods, Dungeons and Dragons,
Nice.
where I'm sure there was a lot of Lord of the Rings influence, just not from the movie. I
Sure.
did all that, and I loved meeting people and being involved, even though I tried to be antisocial and look. Even to the point where if I ran into somebody who was different from me in any way, I gravitated towards them. I wanted to know what their story was. I wanted to like, what was it like growing up like you? Because I know what this is like. And I think that's kind of like, that's what brought you where you are. And that's kind of where I am here with my show. I get a chance to meet people I otherwise wouldn't talk to. I spend an hour, and I wish it's something that other people could just do normally. Like, hey, I'm going to go
Sure.
out to the bar and just talk to somebody for an hour. I'm not going to try to hook up. I'm not going to try to make a business connection. I'm just going to talk and get to know what their life is. Has it really, really enriched your life? I know the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But do you have any like stories or metrics? I hate using the metrics to somebody who worked in finance. But like, do you have any like way to measure that, or when it hit you?
Yeah. I mean, it's all like, I met today, as an example, if we just take today, I met 3 people today. The first woman I met grew up in Soviet Union, Latvia, and was talking
Millions of
about,
questions.
yeah, and was talking about her experience of leaving that, and she was Jewish, and like how they had closed all the Jewish schools, and there was no way to connect to her culture, and she ended up moving to Jerusalem. But all that aside, she said that she lost her brother when he was 31 years old, and how that was one of the biggest tragedies of her life. And I have 2 older siblings. My brother's 35, my sister's 39. And I think about that and I'm like, my brother's made it 4 years past where her brother made it. My sister has made it 8 years past where her brother has made it. And I think about stuff like that a lot. And I still have both my parents. I still have both my siblings. They're doing well. And I'm 34, and to be 34 and still have my immediate family, to me, is a gift.
It is a
Where I
gift.
where I think to other people who may not have gone on my journey, it's their expectation that their family's still alive. But you meet someone like that, and then the last girl I talked to today, I think she's 52, and I asked her, I said, "Do you still have both your parents?" And she said, "I do," but she said, "My dad was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and it's not looking good." And so
No.
the tears start to flow during our conversation. And for me, it's the realization that I'm not always going to have my mom, and I'm not always going to have my dad. And if I can have that realization before they're gone, I can change the way that I spend time with them while I still
Yeah.
have them, and I can more actively appreciate them. And so I say that's probably one of the greatest personal gifts that I've gotten out of the journey. But that's like a thematic thing. Very tangibly, the apartment that you see me in right now is the result of someone I met through my project. I was on a 9-month sublet in Philly, and I needed a place to stay because that was ending. And I put out a call to Instagram, and this guy that I had met a few months prior said, "Send this woman a referral. Tell her you're a friend of my girlfriend's. There's a unit opening up in her building. And this woman is the landlord. Like, she owns this particular unit."
Right.
So I ended up moving in here. That guy moved in with his girlfriend. He lives like on the other side of that wall. I hear him when he's taking his dog out in the morning. And so this location is a result of someone that I met. I do keynote speaking now, and the suit that I wear on stage was made for me for free by someone that I met through my project. And a lot of the gigs that I
Jeez.
get are from people I've met through my project. Actually, the reason I became a keynote speaker is because I met a girl in August of 2019, and she was a keynote speaker, and she told me there was room for me in the industry. Without her, I wouldn't be on stages today.
Right
So
on.
it's that, and it's like I went to a concert on January 16th for this band. I'm going to butcher the name, but it's La Imperatrice. It's like, imagine that, but said in a French accent. They're kind of like
I just
Daft Punk.
did, but I can't even try.
Yeah, they're kind of like Daft Punk, but a band, very like French pop. I'm a big fan of them, and I learned about them because of a girl that I met through my project years ago. And she just told me about them, and I looked them up. I enjoyed their music. I shared it with my friends. My friends became fans. So I think about things like that. I met this girl, and our 1 hour meeting set in motion my January 16th, 2025. So those are just a handful of examples, but I could share for the next hour all the examples.
I have It's funny you mentioned that, like, turning point, that date, and I have this fascination for history, and I suck at dates, but there's always, when I can get it down to one person making one decision that changed everything for everybody, like the first atom bomb explosion at Trinity, changed everything for everybody, and nobody knew about it, but one
Mhm.
person kind of made that decision at some point that made that happen, and I'm fascinated by that. What was the point in your life that made you decide to do this?
I think there were a few, and I think it reminds me of the saying, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. So the
Okay,
dots for
yeah,
me, I think in high school I worked for a financial advisor. And that was important because he had a company of like 10 people, and he was doing really well for himself. And I had grown up in this white collar corporate. My dad worked for Verizon for 35 years. So that experience taught me that you don't need to be at a big corporation to be successful. You can run a small operation. So that kind of put the bug of entrepreneurship in my mind. And then being at Deloitte Consulting and not really enjoying my lifestyle there, and having studied entrepreneurship and had an interest in it, in January of 2014 is when I first came up with this idea. And I thought, initially I'll meet 10,000 people for 10 minutes at a time, and I'll do it in a year. And that version of me was thinking, okay, I'll do this. BuzzFeed will write an article. I'll never have to work another day in my life. Very naive.
it was
And
possible back then, but
maybe, yeah.
yeah,
But it just wasn't from the right place, and it sat in my iPhone notes for a year and a half. And then I went from Deloitte Consulting to doing sales at a tech startup, and I was having these 30-minute sales conversations with people. You talk about the weather, sports, whatever, and then you get into the product.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that's still short enough of a time where it's surface level. So what if I did an hour with each person? And what if instead of this thing being an overnight success, it's a long-term journey that is built very methodically over time? So I went to this tech startup, and when I was there, I was writing these journal entries in my iPhone notes, and I called them thoughts on the way to success, because I thought it'd be cool if I ever became successful that I could reflect back on these things. And I only wrote 3 of them, but in the second one, I wrote my ability to meet people is what will take me to where I want to be. And I didn't know what I meant by that at the time. It was me recognizing the fact that I've always been a people person, and I'm good at connecting with others. So when I went to write the third one, I reread the second one, and it reminded me of this idea to meet 10,000 people. And that was the spark of inspiration for me to say, okay, well, why don't I start reaching out to people? So I just started DMing random people in Philadelphia who didn't have like any crazy accolades or anything like that, just everyday people. And
Yeah.
there was a website called billypenn.com that had a who's next list of who's next in the political scene, who's next in the culinary scene, who's next in the art scene.
Okay. Okay.
And I was like, oh, cool. There's a diverse group of people. I was already used to getting people's emails, sending them emails, and then following up if I didn't hear back. So I just applied that to my project and started reaching out to people in September of 2015. And then the first meeting occurred November 11th of 2015.
So you use the world of sales for good.
Oh yeah, the sales is super important, and still is to my to this day with speaking and everything else involved with this.
Of course, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that, and I just love that this has taken you so far. Have a great one. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Be safe out there. Treat each other well.